Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
श्री राधा मदन मोहन की। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद-गीता की। श्रील प्रभुपाद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। Can do me a favor? From office, ask Subal to bring my power cord. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। There's an extension behind in my table, the right drawer on top. Take that all the way out. You can find an extension. I will join it. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today's verse is 13th chapter, verses 8 through 12. We just chant verse 8, but then we will read the translation of 8 through 12. Amanitvam Adambhitvam Ahimsa Shantir Arjavam Acharyopasanam Shaucham Stairyam Atma Vinigraha. We just read once the whole, all those verses. Indriyartheshu Vairagyam Anahankara Eva Cha Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha अनुदर्शनम असक्तिर अनभिष्वंगः पुत्र दार गृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्य योगेन भक्ति अव्यभिचारिणी विविक्त देश सेवित्वम् अरति जन संसदि अध्यात्म ज्ञान नित्यत्वं तत्व ज्ञानार्थ दर्शनम् एतत् ज्ञानम् इति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यत् अतः अन्यथा because if you plug in here this thing might again become loose connection. Actually, there's an extension. Let me just bring it. अमानित्वम् अदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यम् आत्मविनिग्रह इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहंकार एव च जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि दुःख दोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिर अनभिष्वंगः पुत्रदार गृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्य योगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी विविक्त देश सेवित्वम् अरतिर्जन संसदि अध्यात्म ज्ञान नित्यत्वम् तत्व ज्ञानार्थ दर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानम् इति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा अमानित्वम् humility, adambhitvam pridelessness, ahimsa, non-violence, shanti, tolerance, arjavam, simplicity, acharya upasanam, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, shaucham, cleanliness, sthiryam, steadfastness, atma vinigraha, self-control, indriya artheshu, in the matter of the senses, vairagyam, renunciation, anahankara, being without false egoism, eva, certainly, cha, also, janma, of birth, mrityu, of death, jara, old age, vyadhi, and disease, dukkha, of the distress, dosha, the fault, anudarshanam, observing, asakti, being without attachment, anabhishvanga, being without association, putra, for son, dara, wife, graha adishu, home, etc. Nityam, constant, cha, also, samachittatvam, equilibrium, ishta, the desirable, anishta, and undesirable, upapattishu, having obtained, mai, unto me, cha, also, ananya yogena, by unalloyed devotional service, bhakti, devotion, avyabhicharani, without any break, vivikta, to solitary, desha, places, sevitvam, aspiring, arati, being without attachment, janasamsadi, to people in general, adhyatma, pertaining to the self, jnana, knowledge, nityatvam, constancy, tattvajnana, of knowledge of the truth, artha, for the object, darshanam, philosophy, etat, all this, jnanam, knowledge, iti, does, proktam, declared, ajnanam, ignorance, yat, that which, atah, from this, anyatha, other. Translation and purport by Bhagavad-gita, Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever they may be, is ignorance. Please repeat. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. all these are declared to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever they may be, is ignorance. Purport. This process of knowledge is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men as being the interaction of the field of activity. But actually, this is the real process of knowledge. If one accepts this process, then the possibility of approaching the absolute truth exists. This is not the interaction of the 24 elements as described before. This is actually the means to get out of the entanglement of those elements. The embodied soul is entrapped by the body, which is a casing made of the 24 elements. And the process of knowledge, as described here, is the means to get out of it. Of all the descriptions of the process of knowledge, the most important point is described in the first line of the 11th verse. Mayi chananya yogena bhakti-yoga. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. So if one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. But if one takes to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within him. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.18.12, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 12, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya pinchana sarvair gunaistattva samasute suraha. All the good qualities of knowledge develop in one who has attained the stage of devotional service. The principle of accepting a spiritual master, as mentioned in the 8th verse, is essential. Even for one who takes to devotional service, it is most important. Transcendental life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, clearly states here that this process of knowledge is the actual path. Anything speculated beyond this is nonsense. As for the knowledge outlined here, the items may be analyzed as follows. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others, but from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge who knows that he is not his body, anything honor or dishonor pertaining to this body is useless. One should not be hankering after this material deception. People are very anxious to be famous for their religion, and consequently sometimes it is found that without understanding the principles of religion, one enters into some group which is not actually following religious principles and then wants to advertise himself as a religious mentor. As for actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have a test to see how far he is progressing. He can judge by these items. Non-violence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body, but actually non-violence means not to put others into distress. People in general are trapped by ignorance in the material concept of life and they perpetually suffer the material pains. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. See this important point. Unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. That means if we don't preach Krishna consciousness, we're actually committing violence. Because violence means, as Prabhupada said here, not to put others into distress. And if you don't preach, they will be in distress if they are not Krishna conscious. So if we don't preach, we're actually putting others in distress. Knowing the answer, we're not telling them. That's actually violence. Not just, bloodshed or, these things. Physical torture, no. All kinds of suffering. One should try his best to distribute real knowledge to the people so that they may become enlightened and leave this material entanglement. That is non-violence. Tolerance means that one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. If one is engaged in the advancement of spiritual knowledge, there will be so many insults and much dishonor from others. This is expected because material nature is so constituted. Even a boy like Prahlad, who only 5 years old was engaged in the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, was endangered when his father became antagonistic to his devotion. The father tried to kill him in so many ways, but Prahlad tolerated him. So there may be many impediments to making advancement in spiritual knowledge, but we should be tolerant and continue our progress with determination. Simplicity means that without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward that he can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. As for acceptance of the spiritual master, that is essential because without the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot progress into the spiritual science. One should approach the spiritual master with all humility and offer him all services so that he will be pleased to bestow his blessings upon the disciple. Because a bona fide spiritual master is the representative of Krishna, if he bestows any blessings upon his disciple, that will make the disciple immediately advance without the disciples following the regulated principles. Or, the regulated principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation. Cleanliness is essential for making advancement in spiritual life. There are two kinds of cleanliness, external and internal. External cleanliness means taking a bath, but for internal cleanliness, one has to think of Krishna always and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This process cleans the accumulated dust of past karma from the mind. Steadiness means that one should be very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Without such determination, one cannot make tangible progress. And self-control means that one should not accept anything which is detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. One should become accustomed to this and reject anything which is against the path of spiritual progress. This is real renunciation. The senses are so strong that they are always anxious to have sense gratification. One should not cater to these demands which are not necessary. The senses should only be gratified to keep the body fit so that one can discharge his duty in advancing in spiritual life. The most important and uncontrollable sense is the tongue. If one can control the tongue, then there is every possibility of controlling the other senses. The function of the tongue is to taste and to vibrate. Therefore, by systematic regulation, the tongue should always be engaged in tasting the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. As far as the eyes are concerned, they should not be allowed to see anything but the beautiful form of Krishna. That will control the eyes. Similarly, the ears should be engaged in hearing about Krishna and the nose in smelling the flowers offered to Krishna. This is the process of devotional service, and it is understood here that Bhagavad-gita is simply expounding the science of devotional service. Devotional service is the main and sole objective. Unintelligent commentators on the Bhagavad-gita try to divert the mind of the reader to other subjects. But there is no other subject in Bhagavad-gita than devotional service. False ego means accepting his body as oneself. When one understands that he is not his body and his spirit soul, he comes to his real ego. Ego is there. False ego is condemned, but not real ego. In the Vedic literature, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, unto 1 chapter 4, text 10, it is said, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman, I am spirit. This I am, the sense of self, also exists in the liberated stage of self-realization. This sense of I am is ego. But when the sense of I am is applied to this false body, it is false ego. When the sense of self is applied to reality, that is real ego. There are some philosophers who say we should give up our ego, but we cannot give up our ego because ego means identity. We ought, of course, to give up the false identification with the body. One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child's stay in the womb of the mother, its suffering, etc. are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful. Because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother, we do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of sufferings, and they are also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. And as far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased, and no one wants to become old, but there is no avoiding this. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distresses of birth, death, old age and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. As for detachment from children, wife and home, it is not meant that one should have no feeling for these. They are natural objects of affection, but when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. The best process for making the home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One need only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Have some discussion on books like Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and engage oneself in deity worship. These four things will make one happy. One should train the members of his family in this way. The family members can sit down morning and evening and chant together Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness following these four principles, then there is no need to change from family life to renounced life. But if it is not congenial, not favorable for spiritual advancement, then family life should be abandoned. One must sacrifice everything to realize or serve Krishna, just as Arjuna did. Arjuna did not want to kill his family members, but when he understood that these family members were impediments to Krishna realization, he accepted the instruction of Krishna and fought and killed them. In all cases, one should be detached from the happiness and distress of family life, because in this world one can never be fully happy or fully miserable. Happiness and distress are concomitant factors of material life. One should learn to tolerate as advised in Bhagavad-gita. One can never restrict the coming and going of happiness and distress, so one should be detached from the materialistic way of life and be automatically equipoised in both cases. Generally, when we get something desirable, we are very happy, and when we get something undesirable, we are distressed. But if we are actually in a spiritual position, these things will not agitate us. To reach that stage, we have to practice unbreakable devotional service. Devotional service to Krishna without deviation means engaging oneself in 9 processes of devotional service. Chanting, hearing, worshipping, offering respect, etc. as described in the last verse of the 9th chapter. That process should be followed. Naturally, when one is adapted to the spiritual way of life, he will not want to mix with materialistic men. That would go against his grain. One may test himself by seeing how far he is inclined to live in a solitary place without unwanted association. Naturally, a devotee has no taste for unnecessary sporting or cinema, going or enjoying some social function, because he understands that these are simply a waste of time. There are many research scholars and philosophers who study sex life or some other subject, but according to Bhagavad-gita, such research work and philosophical speculation have no value. That is more or less nonsensical. According to Bhagavad-gita, one should make research by philosophical discretion into the nature of the soul. One should make research to understand the self. That is recommended here. As far as self-realization is concerned, it is clearly stated that here that bhakti-yoga is especially practical. As soon as there is a question of devotion, one must consider the relationship between the super soul and the individual soul. The individual soul and the super soul cannot be one, at least not in the bhakti conception, the devotional conception of life. This service of the individual soul to the Supreme Soul is eternal, nityam, as it is clearly stated. So bhakti or devotional service is eternal. One should be established in that philosophical conviction. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 11, this is explained. Vadanti Tattvavit dāsa yajñānamadvayam. Those who are actually knowers of the Absolute Truth know that the Self is realized in three different phases, as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the last word in the realization of the Absolute Truth. Therefore, one should reach up to that platform of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus engage in the devotional service of the Lord. That is the perfection of knowledge. Beginning from practicing humility up to the point of realization of the Supreme Truth, the Absolute Personality of Godhead, this process is just like a staircase beginning from the ground floor and going up to the top floor. Now on this staircase there are so many people who have reached the first floor, the second or the third floor, etc. But unless one reaches the top floor, which is the understanding of Krishna, he is at a lower stage of knowledge. If anyone wants to compete with God and at the same time make advancement in spiritual knowledge, he will be frustrated. It is clearly stated that without humility, understanding is not truly possible. To think oneself God is most puffed up. Although the living entity is always being kicked by the stringent laws of material nature, he still thinks I am God because of ignorance. The beginning of knowledge, therefore, is amanitva, humility. One should be humble and know that he is subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Due to rebellion against the Supreme Lord, one becomes subordinate to material nature. One must know and be convinced of this truth. There is an elaborate description of what is knowledge. So as we see, the first item is humility. Therefore, in the Vedic literature it is said, Adav Guruvashrayam. First we must approach the spiritual master. Because actually humility we cannot learn otherwise. We cannot be really humble otherwise. When we are with our parents, they provide for our sense gratification. They want to see the child happy. So they can't really chastise them enough to correct them because of their natural attachment for the children. And also, they can only take us so far. That's why in our Indians all know this. Mata, Pita, Guru, Daigam. You know, people quote this many times, but they hardly understand. They say first the most important person in one's life is Mata, mother, and then Pita, father, and then third is Guru, and last is God. You know, so mother and father are my God. First, more than God to me. This is their understanding of this Mata, Pita, Guru, Daivam line. But actually, this is a total misunderstanding. It's totally wrong. So the real thing is that when one is born, one's first shelter is the mother. Mother is the first person to take care of the child. And then, when the child grows up a little more, and the father tries to discipline the child. This is the actual process. Now it is a little bit different. Family structures have become different now. But this is the original standard. Then the father disciplines him to a certain extent until he is about 5 years old. Then he is sent to the Guru. He goes under the next shelter, the Guru. And under the Guru's guidance, he can go to Daivam, God. Not that, father and mother, my first God, more than God. So, actually, we met some kind of people like this. Yes, these are the stages one goes, the shelter one takes progressively in human life. In family life, there is only Mata Pita, that's it. There is no Guru and Daivam. That's why A Brahmanda Brahmita Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasada Paya bhakti-yoga bij. So, a very fortunate soul, because there are millions and trillions of souls roaming up and down in this universe in various species of life. We have also been through. Sometimes as demigods, sometimes as humans, sometimes in the animal kingdom, sometimes in the hellish worlds. So we have been through all this travel. We've been traveling for so long. And in that course of traveling, of trillions of living entities, a very fortunate soul, Bhagyavan. Kono Bhagyavan means how extremely fortunate soul receives Guru Krishna Prasada Paya bhakti-yoga bij. He receives the seed of devotional service. Bhakti-yoga bij. How? Guru Krishna Prasada. Guru and Krishna's mercy. Through them, he receives the devotional service, bhakti. So actually, human life is meant for this end, bhakti. Unfortunately, this Mata, Pita and Guru, the Guru principle is gone. Nowadays, Guru means, they think Guru means just a teacher. Even in English, this word Guru has come from Sanskrit. It is now like a normal English word. But Guru is used for everything, like, he's a guitar Guru, or, anything is a Guru, anything like teacher, it's like. But actually, Guru means, the word Sanskrit, in Sanskrit, the word Guru means heavy. Guru means heavy. He is heavy with transcendental knowledge. So it's actually a very deep word. It's a very significant word, but it is being very, the depth of that word is lost in this modern usage. And people don't understand the significance therefore. So, Guru, when one goes to Guru, then he becomes humble, because that is explained in the Bhagavatam. Guru means what? See, Narada is speaking this thing. Brahmachari Gurukule Vasandamto Guror Hitam Acharan Dasavan Nicho Gurao Sudrudha Saufrida. A student means one who is in the Gurukul. Gurukul means the place of the residence of the spiritual master. So this is one more thing. The child it's not like a day school, he goes and comes back home every day. No. He goes there and stays there. Gurukul. A student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Gurukul only for the benefit of the Guru. He should live with the Guru. So it was like a boarding school. It's not, attachment is not there, not that Guru Shastra, because in brahmachari life is not easy life. Not that, like nowadays there is always parent-teachers meeting and they discuss what the child is doing, and the parents are so concerned, and the teachers are so concerned, and then the child is just pampered. When I was a small boy, there was parent-teachers meeting, and my father, he told the teacher, "Why do you call me for the parents-teachers meeting? I am paying the school to take care of my son. You take care, you do whatever you want. If he has to receive some beating, beat him." But that's why I am admitting him here. Why? What is the use of again telling? My father just wanted to say you study well, not get into bad habits. That's what I want to say. The point is that, of course, it's not that the parents should not be concerned about what is happening to the child, but the point is that the child is trained under the Guru to be humble. This humility, the first if you see the first first item, humility. Unless one gets a Guru, he will not become humble. Because brahmachari life means brahmachari life means that he has to go and beg. Before even being imparted any knowledge, he is not imparted knowledge first. He must go out and beg first. And when he goes out and begs, sometimes people will criticize him. Oh, you are a beggar. Even if he is a king's son, even if he is a prince, he should become a beggar when he is in the Gurukul. No one is excused. Not that, he is king's son, he is special treatment. No. You should still go out and beg. And then there will be so many people, a beggar, in Singapore it's not so bad actually. In India, a beggar is very badly treated. Nobody gives anything to the beggar. And their life is also much worse actually. If you go to India, you can see. Sometimes they also take advantage. It's sometimes a cartel, so many things. But usually the beggars are, in India especially, their life is horrible. Nobody even cares whether you live or die. So sometimes when a beggar comes and begs, get lost, like that. This is how they are treated. So sometimes this Gurukul, this boy goes out to beg, not for himself. See, he is not trained to become a beggar. No. He is trained, see, the knowledge, this is education. Education means building of character first. It's not that he is being trained how to beg. No. He is trained how to become humble. And also, that begging is not for his own stomach. He begs on all that he gets, he has to give to the Guru. He has to give to the Guru. Even Krishna, when he was in this world, he underwent this Gurukul program. Sandipani Muni was his Guru. But of course, there was no need of him having a Guru. He is a Jagat Guru, or the Guru of the universe. But he set an example. And he also, the descriptions are there in the Bhagavatam. Krishna and his friend Sudama, they went out and they got lost in a big storm. They went out to cut firewood for the Guru. And they got lost, and overnight they had to stay. All these hardships Krishna himself went through. So to show us that brahmacharya life, there has to be austerity. There is no argument. Oh, I will not do this, I cannot beg, I'm a prince, how can I do this? No such thing. Actually, a boy when he is 5 years old, he has not much ego. He will do anything you ask him to do. So nowadays it will be termed as child abuse. If you do something like this. But actually, that is a building of character. And then once he becomes humble, then he becomes a proper candidate for receiving spiritual knowledge. Because how should one approach a guru? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanena tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. See, this is how you have to approach the spiritual master. Submissively and render service unto him. And then inquire. So in this way the inquiry will be proper and then we can receive the transcendental knowledge. But if one is so puffed up, like nowadays, people are trained to be puffed up with their credentials. Oh, I'm a PhD, I'm this and that, doctor, lawyer. They think they are more intelligent than the guru. They can argue with the guru. No, Krishna is not God. How you can say Krishna is God? If suppose we, even in proper, even normal school, if, I think the echo is still on, is it? The third from the right? Put it all the way down. It's down. Okay. So, thanks. So, what am I saying? Yeah, even in the present context, when we go to the school and the teacher says, this is A. Now the student asks, why there should be A? What he can learn? He cannot go any further than that. If he just, he cannot go any further. He has to accept it and go on. So this humility is very important. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Trinadapi sunichena. Nicha means, Neech means downtrodden, like, there's how to say, daridra, like daridra almost. Like, how to say, very condemned. Usually beggars, like this kind of things condemned. But we should be like that in front of the spiritual master. Then that is a proper, then our reception will become proper of the knowledge. That's why it said, Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthita srutigatam thanuvan manobhir ye prayasho jita jitopyasi tais trilokyam. Brahma is saying this. Those who even while remaining in their established social positions throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. So offer respect to this description. Namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam. Sanmukharitam means from the sadhus, from the lips of the sadhu. One must hear these descriptions of Krishna. How? Throwing away the speculative knowledge process and humbly accepting the position. So his humility is the first thing, first rung of this ladder of, as Prabhupada described, this ladder of advancement. And humility is the first rung. So that's what is the aim of that brahmachari life. Then, and is without honor and equipoised in honor and dishonor. Okay? Humility means equipoised. Especially when someone insults, it becomes very agitating. If we are not trained properly. If we are trained, then we will see that actually, what is the point? A fool, he will praise and he will insult what? He will insult and praise only this body. There is no praise or insult for the soul. The soul does not belong to the soul, these praises and insults. So to come to that knowledge, actually, although we may even know, we still may be agitated. So it requires practice. Unless we actually live, it's not just important to know. We have to actually live like that. That's why we have to actually take to this process wholeheartedly. Hearing is one thing, that's the beginning, but then we have to put all our other senses into practice. Like we go out and beg also. We go out and distribute books. All the time we meet challenges. So they are important. Once I went to a house and he was a Sikh Punjabi gentleman. He actually came to our temple once, and then somehow I went to his home. There he was mentioning this point that in Hindus there are always beggars. All the sannyasis are beggars, and the brahmacharis are beggars, and some babajis will be beggars. But in Sikh community you will not find a beggar. Everybody will be earning his livelihood. He said, this is superior. So I said, see, there are also thieves. There are also thieves. So I said, this begging of the sannyasis, of the brahmacharis, is not for their own. And whatever they beg is a training for them to become humble, and at the same time, whatever the contribution people are giving that is going for Krishna, they are getting purified. Actually, it's a policy. Prabhupada described, we are not beggars, but we have accepted the policy of begging to take their wealth, which is earned for their sense gratification, and give at least a portion of that to Krishna. So even without them knowing, they are committing pious activities by giving just to Krishna. Even without knowing, this is called Ajnata Sukriti. Sukriti means pious activity, and Ajnata means without knowing, committing or doing pious activities without one's knowledge. Like we give somebody prasadam. Now the person does not know it's prasadam. He just simply eat nice food, He doesn't know that it's actually advancing spiritual life. He does not know. Even we also, now we are all sitting here. How we are sitting? Some life, something we have little bit we have done. Now it has come to a point where we are more determined in this process. It is not overnight. To even have an interest in this direction is already a sign of past advancement in this field. So, sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly, we advance. Somebody were begging some devotees and we maybe gave, little bit somewhere in our previous life. That has brought us here. We never knew. We never know what actually we did. So therefore, the contact with the devotees of Krishna is very auspicious. They said, Lavamatra sadhu sangha sarvasiddhi hoy. 1/11 of a second, if you associate with the devotee, all perfection will be there. Actually a fact. You stand at the Guanyin temple, how long will it be with you? They just come and put some coin and go. 1/11 of a second maybe. Not even 1 second. But that will lead them to ultimate perfection. So, but of course, we should try to give more. If they don't want to take it, what we can do? That's why Prabhupada trained us to distribute books. And then at least they get something very substantial. Yes, they give money, which is good. If they get a book, that is even better. And that is actually a concrete step, a very big step forward in their spiritual life. Therefore, book distribution on the streets, anywhere, we have to try to distribute these books. So the books distribution it is actually giving them a chance directly to associate with the pure devotee, because how long will they, as we said, just 1 second. But if they get a book, 2-3 minutes they may spend with you, but if they get a book and then read, that will totally transform their life. So we're actually giving that association of a pure devotee because Prabhupada's books, and the association of that, when you read Bhagavad-gita or any book of it, you are actually directly associating with the spiritual master there. It is as good as you are sitting in front of him and hearing him speak. It is the same thing. After what he will say, even if he is in front of us, he will say the same things. So therefore, Prabhupada said we should not be very dejected that Krishna is no more here with us. As long as we are reading Bhagavad-gita, we are actually directly in front of Krishna. Krishna is speaking and we are hearing. It should be taken like that. Actually, it is a fact. So, this humility, pridelessness, other from pridelessness, not being unnecessarily full of conceit, excessive pride. One should have no pride. Amanina, manadena. One should give all respect to others, but one should not expect respect from others. Acharya, ahimsa. Ahimsa, Prabhupada described very nicely the ultimate description of non-violence. Recently we started this show, weekly show, Shastra Chakshu. I don't know if you have seen. You have seen? So.
The cows make, I didn't see that one, but I saw it started that way. I saw the previous one.
So this especially this cow video. So one of our devotees shared it to a vegan society. Vegan society. Vegans, they don't take dairy products. They take only vegetables. Their sentiment is that cows are being slaughtered and tortured, and we should not take that milk which is meant for the calf. So when she shared this video, they were made an uproar. Actually, at least that's a good sign. At least they heard something. But they do not understand this thing that violence is always being committed, even if you do not touch that milk. You cannot stay in this world without committing violence. You are walking and you are killing so many germs. And even plants when you are eating. Have you seen a harvest, how it takes place? You have to cut all the plants. And also there are so many worms and rats in the ground while harvest. Everything is killed. There is killing there, and then sometimes potatoes are uprooted. Carrots, beetroots, there's killing them. And even if you use, say, books, trees are being killed. So actually, we almost, now they say paperless. They want to kill trees. But what is happening? These signals, all this radiation that is going on with the powerful signals and all this Wi-Fi or whatever. Those are creating a disturbance with the bees. It is said that the bees, which actually transport the, what is it called? Pollination. So that is being affected. So indirectly it is. So we can't stay in this world without committing violence. For them, violence is only that blood and all that horrible scene. Violence means to cause distress, as Prabhupada explained in this verse today. And we are always causing distress to others in one way or another. The only way that can be adjusted is that it has to be used for Krishna. Like printing, we print books. The newspapers, magazines are also printing. And so many, if you go to the library, NLB, National Library Board, how many tons of books. But what is there in that book's material? What is that? Sense gratification. There's nothing good for the soul at all. No. There may be, some people say there's some good in those books, but as Prabhupada very nicely explained in the purport, the last item, realization of the absolute truth, if that is missing, all the others like humility, pridelessness, ahimsa, non-violence, shanti, tolerance, arjavam, simplicity, all these things have no meaning, have no value if they don't lead to Krishna consciousness. That's why it is in the Bhagavatam it is explained. Shadvarga samyamayakanta sarva niyama chodana tadantaya dino yogan avaheyo shramavaha. Ritualistic ceremonies, regulative principles, austerities, and the practice of yoga are all meant to control the senses and mind. But even after one is able to control the senses and mind, if he does not come to the point of meditation upon the Supreme Lord, all such activities are simply labor and frustration. So, all these practices are meant for that end. But if we don't reach that end, then what is the point? We have lost everything. You see? So without that conception of God, everything else is... But if you have God, if you develop devotional service for Krishna, all the other 19 automatically develop. Automatically one becomes humble. If one is sent to a Gurukul for learning about Krishna, automatically he becomes humble first. He is trained by the spiritual master. And he is trained about tolerance. And then all this pridelessness, honesty, all these things are desirable qualities, and automatically you will get them. There is no need for separate education of moral education for devotees. No. By being a devotee, one is automatically, all moral values are in him. Rather, the other person who is so-called moral actually is not moral, because he is not accepting the supremacy of Krishna. Because we are taking everything from Krishna and we don't even acknowledge. That is not even simple etiquette, simple manners. As we have many times said, you take something from someone, you say thank you. That is courtesy. But if I say, I take from you and say, I did not receive from you, I got it from air. It dropped down from the sky. What is that? So that is rude, even in normal terms. So we are taking everything from Krishna and cannot even say thank you. Then what is that? So there is actually no good quality in a person who is not a God-conscious person. So this paper, paper is, the trees are killed for paper. But if that paper is used to print Bhagavad-gita, then the tree which contributed to the paper also gets burned. And if the plant which is offered to Krishna, that plant also gets benefited. So, this is how we can adjust things. Otherwise, we cannot remain in this world without committing sin actually. See how Krishna has designed this material world in such a way. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yad indriya priti apranati. As long as we are in the platform of indriya priti, satisfaction of the senses, sense gratification is our aim of life, then we are always doing vikarma. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yad indriya pritaya apranati. Na sadhu manye. This is not good. Sadhu means good. Na sadhu means not good. This is not good because this will cause us bondage. Anything that gets us out of this bondage, that is good. That is auspicious. That is desirable. But anything that makes us remain in this prison house of material existence, in the repeated cycle of birth and death, there is no auspiciousness in such undertaking. So we should always endeavor for that end, where we are progressing towards the eternity. So ahimsa, kshantir. Ahimsa means you have to absolutely no himsa. Of course, it is very regrettable that cows are being killed like that. But milk is something which is to be offered to Krishna and should be taken by humans. So ideally, we should have our own. That's why Prabhupada started this self-sufficient farms where cow protection was there, and this whole setup was there. That's why